Today, we are going to make some grass. No, I'm not in Colorado, so it's not going to be that kind of grass. It's our techniques that are so simple and sensible, your models have practically built themselves. Hello folks, it's Mad Dog Merv. Today, well, we're off on another adventure, a little road trip. We're headed to Wendover, Utah. Some of you might recognize the name Wendover. Wendover, Utah is where they trained for the atomic bomb missions in 1945. The B-29s that dropped the atomic bomb, yeah, they trained there in Wendover. Wendover Army Air Base, and that is our destination today. What we are going to do, well, I am going to go do a live remote for their channel because, well, they do that kind of thing, and I built a bunch of models for them a while back, so we're going to talk a little bit about those. But what we are going to talk about is the new museum that's out there, and we're going to look around and see what the base is looking like these days. So stick with us as Mad Dog Merv goes to Wendover. So Wendover, Utah is approximately 120 miles west of Salt Lake City. And here we go across the salt flats. Back in the early 1900s, when the Western Pacific Railroad was being built, this was a stop along that Western Pacific. And here's a good picture of the stockyards back in 1907. I think it was the Goodyear cutoff for the Lincoln Highway actually came through here as well. And here back in the days, the little gas station that was out there at the state line, there in right on the state line in Wendover. Here's a good picture. You can see the water tower for the base, and part of the base here in this particular picture, the main road going to the state line gas station and casino up there on the far right-hand side. This obviously was during the war or post-war. So here's where we're headed today, the Old Officers Club. And this picture was taken several years ago. You can see how it was kind of run down and dilapidated. I have some interior pictures that I'll share with you folks another time. Well, here I am at the Wendover Museum. It's in the Old Officers Club. See the tower in the background. We're going to go check out some really cool stuff while we're here, so stick with us. So it's been completely restored inside this Officers Club, and this is where they've moved the museum to. It's an absolutely fabulous facility. You can see up here on the second floor, you can see the beautiful wood dance floor. It's kind of an overall view looking down. By the way, they've got a 1-to-1 scale little boy atomic bomb there. But this is what the dance floor looked like, and you can see the balcony area here. I guess you'd have tables and whatnot up there. You could sit and have drinks and such. The old, what they called battleship tile, and this has been restored as well. Pretty darn cool looking place up there. Guess I remember it before restoration. So here's a picture I like to call Fat Man and Little Boy in regards to the 2 bombs that were dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. There's the little boy and of course the Fat Man. So the reason I'm out here today is I'm going to be doing a live broadcast on the Facebook page for the museum. And here we are on the second floor near the museum office. They've got these really neat mannequins up here and a bunch of other just really neat memorabilia. But what I'm going to talk about today on this live feed is one of the models that I built for the museum, and that is this particular B-17 that's cut away. You can see all the crew stations in it, and I had built this for the museum some time ago. I've also built a B-24 that's cut away and a B-29 from the Silver Plate group that is cut away, and those I've all donated to this museum. There's a few other aircraft that I have built for them as well. So anyway, did about a 14-minute broadcast. We had a great time, and now I think I'm going to go explore the base just a little bit while I'm out here. My friends, the Peterson family, who's worked so hard to make this whole museum thing happen and all of these restorations. So looking out the east window of the Officers Club, here you can see the hangars headed to the east, and it used to be a big sprawling base here. There's the hot rod and all of these empty spaces out there that all used to be buildings, believe it or not, barracks and different buildings for the base. So anyway, we're gonna
head out here in just a minute, but before we do, we're going to take one last look downstairs. This is the bar that the officer they're at the officers club. So the bar has been restored. Actually, they completely rebuilt it to the original specs, but the area where the officers would sit and have a drink and whatnot, absolutely beautiful. And there's a full kitchen there too, that they can rent this whole space out to people. Just a beautifully restored area. This whole building is absolutely amazing. So right next to that, we have the museum part, and there are some great artifacts in here. I'm not going to go through them all, but one I am going to look at is this machine gun that was taken off of a B-17 that had crashed in the desert not too far from Wendover during training. And the story goes that some of the local ranchers, well, one of the local ranchers, his sons, had gotten into the plane and hauled a couple of these home. And anyway, eventually they made their way to the proper people and got here to the museum. So pretty cool. Some ammo boxes from that time frame, and some of the belts of ammunition. Just really cool artifacts throughout this whole museum. But there is this one little display case that has some of the artwork, like this shell lamp that was made and somebody had there. This is part of an atomic bomb casing that was test dropped out in the desert. And there's some of the parts there for a little boy. Kind of neat. And here's the B-29s that I built for the museum in one of the cases. They have them all just sitting there on display, which again is really cool. So we are going to take a little road trip here. We are going to go down the flight line. Look at this. We are driving down the flight line. This is a restricted area. So cool that we get to do this. But we are going to go over to this building here. And this is how I saw it many years ago. This particular building is where they used to keep the Norden bomb sites during the Second World War.
So this is the Norden Bombsight building. This is the one we talked about on my channel before, where you have to have special clearance, and if you don't have special clearance, they'd shoot you on sight. Of course, they probably shoot me on sight anyway, but thank goodness it's not 1944 anymore. So let's go in, let's take a look.
So see, I wasn't kidding. Authorized personnel only. You go through the door, and they got this nice little display of what a bombardier's outfit looked like back in the day. And right past that, there is this generator that's still sitting there. And this generator was for the air conditioning, I guess, to keep this building climatized. I guess it had to be climatized. But the engine's still there. The old flathead's still there. Wouldn't take a whole lot to get this thing up and running, would it?
Okay, so you can see here, this is where we would have had the bomb sites kept.
And here is a neat old fuse box. They've actually restored it. Pretty cool to see that. The vaults, of course, there's 5 of them where they would keep these. So now we are going to take a little drive down the flight line again to the old Enola Gay Hangar. Hey, look at this. It's been partially restored. And here it is, just a few years back before they started the restoration. Pretty cool what they've been able to do to it so far.
Yeah, this is amazing. This is what's known as the B-29 hangar. What originally was this hangar called? It was just like Hangar 1 or something like that?
No, it was, I don't think there was ever a designation, but it was the 393rd Bomb Squadron hangar.
Now, there were 2 of these, one at each end. The other one burnt down in, what was it, 44 or 45?
Yeah.
4. Just storage, parts. So offices and storage.
And the one thing that I never understood that we've since learned, if you notice all of the windows on the first floor, the bottom of the sill is about 7 feet up.
Yeah, why is that? Security?
Security. They did not want people to be able to see in.
So these doors, once they cleaned them up, these are just restored. Absolutely beautiful. The doors to these different areas. This is a propeller where they would hang whole engines up and try out different things with propellers. Here's a kind of a demonstrator showing that. So some of the restoration's done. There's still a ways to go. So looking out of the hangar here, looking back at the flight line, that's the view you get. Looking back towards the the Bombsight building and the main flight line, and then looking towards the base, the enlisted men's barracks and whatnot. And well, we're going to head up. There's one last place we want to see, but on the way we're going to see something interesting. So there's this guy out here who has a bunch of old cars, and tell he's a grumpy old guy. He just leaves them out there for people to see. But he's got all these signs that stay off the cars, stay away, keep out, and all that kind of really interesting stuff. But a couple of the interesting things just sitting out front there. There's a Camaro Z28, a 69, another 69 Camaro, 69 Firebird, and a 67 Mustang sitting out front there, so pretty neat. And there is this Western Pacific boxcar. Remember the railroad? Yeah. So while we're here, I want to see this, the old roundhouse area. We're going to drive over to this area. The old roundhouse depression is still there, and the turntable. And here's what the roundhouse looked like back in the day. So we're going to see what we can still see of that area. And as we drive by, there's a few foundations. That's about it. It's all fenced off. You can't get in there anymore. The far right-hand side, there's kind of a burned-out trailer, and that was where the roundhouse was. Here's the tracks, dead end going into that area. So, well, hey, thanks for joining us, folks. It was a fun trip, and, well, this old water tank from the Central Pacific days will bid you farewell.